Look at that magic.
Boom. Different bug.
The only thing I didn't think about with that bug, can't do a show open with that. Although I suppose we could just drop the bug for the show open.
Or just drop the hashtag part, yeah?
Yeah. Do you have? Yeah, you can go to that.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, right. So we'll do that for the show open. Just so you guys know, the plan for Orbit 10, the super aggressive plan for Orbit 10, is that the show open will no longer be done in After Dark, and starting with Orbit 10 Episode 1, it'll be a cohesive show from the very beginning to the very end without any weird breaks. And we've been working on that in the middle of the show. You'll notice that we no longer have to break and reset in between guests.
Yes.
So I think we've got that part done. Now what we need to do is we're going to start, we're going to muck with the news for maybe another week or two. And once we're done with that, early December, late November, early December, we're going to start doing cold opens, I think. We're going to practice the cold open live. So definitely watch the show live because we're going to fail at that. Yeah, I know. Donna says take 11. That is going to be painful. But again,
It'll be fun, though.
It'll be fun. That's why you watch live, because none of that's gonna. That actually will most likely not even make it into After Dark. So definitely watch live. It's going to be awesome. All right, and actually.
Speaking of intros.
Yeah, speaking of intros, is there a new bar in the studio? Actually, yeah. Someone remind me to talk about bars in the studio and the comments when we're done with opens. So. How do we want to do this? What was your favorite news, Mike?
I'm going to say Cygnus docks to ISS.
Cygnus? Jared?
I'll say Schiaparelli splats on Mars.
Oh, that would have been a good...
Schiaparelli or Schiaparelli?
I've heard it's Schiaparelli from the ESA people. So.
All right. I'll do, I have an interview with, so Emery, do you prefer if I say, you want me to say Emery Stagmer or you want me to say Vax Headroom? You don't care?
Schiaparelli.
This was a slightly more official, because it was part of, because we involved Northrop Grumman. Let's do Emery. Am I pronouncing your last name right? Stagmer? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
cool. Just making sure. All right, so I have a interview with Emery Stagmer talking about small sats, the next generation of small sats. About, I'll just do it with small sats, and then you'll, tomorrow starts right now. Right?
How was that?
Right now.
Sounds good.
All right, you guys ready? It's gonna go, oh, actually it's gonna go Jared, Mike, me, Carrie Ann. Right? So here you go.
Wait, what am I saying?
Jeez.
Coming up.
No, because am I saying the coming up?
Yes, you're saying
Okay,
the coming up.
Thank you.
I'm
want
like,
to make.
you chose, Jared.
I want to make
you
sure.
You chose. I don't
wanna-
even know.
I want to make sure.
All right, yeah. So you're doing the coming up. All right.
You're doing the coming up your thing.
Schiaparelli.
Yeah.
Schiaparelli.
Schiaparelli. So, because the chat room's correcting me. So, Schiaparelli.
One. I need a clapboard.
No, you don't.
All right, whenever you're ready.
Coming up, Schiaparelli splats on Mars.
Cygnus docks to the International Space Station.
I have an interview with Emery Stagmer about small CubeSats.
And I've got comments from last week's show. All that and more coming up on this episode of Tomorrow.
All right, one take.
Awesome. It's fine. It's right here.
One more time.
Sure. I don't mind.
Tech issues. Boop, 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 beep. Small cube nano microsats. Two. This is number two. Two.
Coming up.
Just keep
this-
going.
is this three? Okay.
Still has 2.5.
Gotcha. 2.5. Coming up, Schiaparelli splats on Mars.
Cygnus docks to the International Space Station.
I have an interview with Emery Stagmer about small sats.
And I've got comments from last week's show. All that and more coming up on this episode of Tomorrow. Oh, no way. Serious?
This is three.
Awesome.
This is really hard. Just want to say.
And we're going to have to do these live and or before the show. So anyhow, yep.
Okay. Coming up, Schiaparelli. It's
3.5.
coming up, Schiaparelli splats on Mars.
Cygnus bursts to the International Space Station.
I have an interview with Emery Stagmer about small sats.
And I've got comments from Maston on the Moon. All that and more coming up on this episode of Tomorrow.
Nailed it!
Because I figure if I mention whatever the last episode was,
Yeah,
not just episode.
That's a good idea. Yeah, that sounded really good.
Did everyone notice the change we made to news this week? Did you, you guys?
Yeah,
you
actually,
went-
Destructor 1701 really liked it. A couple people in the chat room really liked it.
I did too. Also, I just want to give a call out to Dutta. It's always intimidating when the boss man just like lingers over your shoulder, even though I'm not really the boss man. I was just like standing over him, like, what buttons are you pressing? The amount of work that he's doing and the flow that he has is quite remarkable and
Yes.
done really well. And I thought, because I threw this bug thing at him, the change in the lower, for those who didn't notice, when we did the news stories, when we did anything, we actually changed the title above the logo to whatever we were talking about. Yeah, that guy right there, yep. So
I did
and
not
you can
notice
actually,
that.
You can, yeah, you wouldn't
Yeah.
have been able to because you wouldn't have been able to read it from here. Can you switch it back to After Dark for me? Including the new After Dark bug, which looks like this.
Bidding.
Bibbling. So I thought that was pretty cool. I really liked the way the news flowed today. I liked the way the news felt today. We're still, so from a flow standpoint and from a feeling standpoint, we got it right. We messed up the flow. So you guys even noticed it on air, like we bounce, 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 bounce. We need to find a way to not do that. We need to find a cohesive way to get from one, like through the news where it all kind of relates or goes something. I'm not sure what.
Yeah, they need to segue into each other somehow.
Yeah. They need to flow better, but from an excitement timing standpoint, I think we did better. So the only two things I think left in news to really fix it up are the flow from one to the other, and I still have not yet been able to figure out how to bring into it and maintain that level, like that level of, I don't know what, but I haven't figured out how to bring conversation back into news and not and have it make sense. Yeah, have it make sense. It doesn't have to be fast, but conversations and news has to make sense. And that's actually really hard because it's not necessarily a conversational topic. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Okay.
Somebody made the point of that while at the top of the show, Jared introduces himself and Mike, and that's what makes sense. But then you come on and you just start talking.
Yeah, that's a holdover from, it used to be that we all started the show concurrently. Oh, there we go. We got Vax on. Hi, Vax.
Hey.
So that we used to. Hang on, I can kind of fix this.
All right, good. Because
Dutta's fixing
or
it.
I can just
No,
it's
good.
good.
No,
That's totally fine.
No, you're good. You're good.
No, I know.
That's a
I'm just gonna
holdover
stay this
from
side.
the days when we were all on screen and we would introduce everyone. We're just not used to needing to introduce ourselves. Someone mentioned we should bring up a lower third. That's true. Although I think right now I just need to introduce myself and the guest. That's the correct way to do it. And we never introduced you.
So you call me Capcom. It's fine.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
The Tomorrow Bunch. So
Not to mention that-
that's the thing we need to fix.
Even though
I mean,
for,
9 orbits of being the beautiful, lovely, talented Carrie Ann. That can't stop.
No,
You know-
beautiful, lovely, wonderful, and talented. Get it right.
You know what's funny though? Speaking of getting it right, Ben introduced me to someone that we work with, IRL, and he couldn't get it right at the time, which is hilarious
What
to
did
me.
I- who did I-
Considering that you have said this on and off for give or take every
I
other
really screw
week
it up?
or so for nearly 10 years at this point, and you're like, oh, and have I introduced you to my beautiful, wonderful, talented? This is my wife, Carrie Ann, and I was like, you're joking right now.
Intro fail.
Oh, it was impressive. The thing is that this guy probably doesn't know that Ben has said this on and off for however long, so he probably didn't necessarily notice. And I was like, you've had your coffee, so this is not a thing. It's because he doesn't believe it.
Yeah.
That's the problem. It's fine. Yeah, right.
Mike, mommy and daddy are fighting again.
That's
We
all
believe
right.
it.
Just,
That's all right.
try to ignore it. Go to your happy place, buddy.
I'm gonna go to sleep.
Okay.
So, you guys, you mentioned the Cygnus launch, and I wanted to show you this. I got a little cute stuffed swan with
Can
a
you go full
space suit.
screen?
That's
Get the
cute.
mascot there.
Yeah, it's an orbital ATK.
It's got
And it's got Cygnus on the other side.
That is
Got a
adorable.
spacesuit on the back. He's
Oh my
cute.
God, that's amazing.
It was a giftie from Orbital ATK for the
it.
press at the launch. So he's totally cute.
Did you want to talk about anything you've got in the background? It's really hard for us to see because we get a multi-view, so you're squished into this teeny tiny screen. But
Okay, so yeah, if you go full screen, I'll show you something fun. I got an audience.
that's awesome.
That's a cardboard cutout MythBusters that my wife got me from like the school was getting rid of it. She works at an elementary school. They were going to get rid of it, so she picked it up gave it to me for Christmas. So they stand in the back of my recording studio.
They actually get extra super bonus points for that.
Yes.
That's all sorts of awesome. Is that an oscilloscope over your left shoulder?
It's a Korg K-Oscillator Pro pad, and it makes all kinds of weird, interesting, fun sounds. We're using it. You mentioned I play in a band, and so I have a band called Ezekiel's Wheel, and we haven't played together in a long time, but we're doing an electronica festival next week, so that's getting used as part of that.
Where can people go to? Can people go to the festival?
Yeah, it's $10.
So where do they get information on that?
It's at the Historic Electronics Museum in Linthicum, Maryland, near the BWI airport. So if you look for Historic Electronics Museum, you'll find it, and it's on their schedule of events.
You are such
It's
a
got
nerd.
its own web page, but I don't remember. Yeah, this is going to be cool. Here, I got a guitar I can show you. This is a guitar that has a guitar synthesizer interface to it.
You just, like the 80s just came flashing back to me here.
Whoa.
Oh, that's exactly what this is. This interfaces to a GR300, and this is the interface to it. Here, this big connector right
That's
here.
mega rad.
So yeah, that's really
Wow,
pretty
really?
cool.
Is it mega rad?
And it's mega rad. And let's see if I can pick the synthesizer up.
We're gonna get a concert.
So well, you're gonna get a tour.
Oh, okay.
This is a Roland GR300 guitar synthesizer.
Nice.
So that was made pretty famous by a jazz musician named Pat Metheny, those particular units. So yeah, we've got that, and we've got a handmade synthesizer that one of our guys put together that's got 11 oscillators in it. It's a trip. And then I'm playing my wind synthesizer and a set of organ pedals and the K oscillator pad. So
Vax, I have a
It'll be
question for
fun.
you. Here's a technical
Yeah.
question. What microphone are you using right now? Because I don't see anything clipped onto you. I don't see a boom, but you have some of the cleanest audio from any guest we've ever had.
this is a Zoom H6. I'm going to unscrew
Oh,
it.
sure. Yeah, uh-huh.
Right. This
Yeah.
is a Zoom H6, and I'm using the XY microphones.
Yeah.
And it's only about 1.5 feet from my face. It's right out of camera view.
Yeah,
So-
we use the Zoom, the 4s. We use the 4s generally.
I just got the 6, and I love it. I recorded the footage for the from the Antares launch. with
Oh. Yeah.
5.
Yes, and we were going
audio.
to, you mentioned this and we screwed up. We were going to use your footage and even got permission to use your footage last week and then promptly didn't. But if, are you Vax Headroom on YouTube?
I'm Untied Music Studio on YouTube.
If you search for Untied Music Studio on YouTube, you can actually get to that footage, which would have been way better than watching it in this show because we do this show in glorious mono. And the audio is phenomenal.
Yeah, that was recorded with a pair of. You can see the microphones over my right shoulder.
Yep.
The microphones are like 1.5 feet long. They're hypercardioids. The microphones go from here to here, and there's a pair of them, and then the Omni capsule on this, plus an Audio Technica 4050 large diaphragm microphone.
So are those the shotguns? Are those like Shure somethings? Who makes the?
Those
shotguns?
are Nakamichi microphones from like the late 70s.
Oh my God.
They're an electric cardioid condenser, and so the microphone bodies are a pencil mic about that long.
Sorry, everyone. I'm just nerding out over audio because video is 80% audio. So.
Yeah. So this is the capsule that screws onto the front of the microphone body. Okay, so the thing about these is that they have no sound, beyond about 45 degrees off axis. Anything over here, you can't hear it at all. So, and they have a super high sound pressure level that they can take. So I know that, I was watching the recordings as I went, and I know that, none of that audio is distorted. I had one little tiny clip of distortion, and I went in and edited this, I edited the clipping by hand and smoothed it back out like 10, dots of them.
Maybe I should do something like that for SpaceX, because right now I use Omnis to try to I use Omnis on at multiple areas of the pad, like, very close, 100 feet away, 500 feet away, 1,000 feet away, and then like 10 miles away to try to pick up the rocket. Because when the engines ignite at 100 feet away, the sound pressure basically presses on the element and doesn't let it go.
Yeah.
But maybe I should use. And I point them at the ground. That's my workaround. Is instead of pointing them at the vehicle, I point them down over grass, and I allow the ground to absorb as much of that sound as I can. They still are useless at T0, but maybe I should consider something further away, like at say 1,000 feet, like a hypercardioid, just pointed like. See, but then as soon as.
These microphones are only like $100 a piece. It'd be worth trying.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. I
they'll
really
take a
want
pretty
epic
high
audio.
SPL.
I'm sorry, say that again?
They'll take a pretty high SPL. You can use those mics in a kick drum. Yeah, that's the other thing that you could try is just go get a set of drum microphones.
So I did that. The problem we run into then is that I want to hear the vehicle hiss and gurgle and like come to life, and I want to hear some of the machinery, and the kick drum mics just don't have the sensitivity necessary to pick all of that up, and I miss it.
I'm looking through my microphone cases. Yeah, so I would try. You could try a snare drum mic too. Snare drum's got to be pretty high SPL, and that's going to have a lot of high end on it. So.
Good idea.
But those Nakamichi microphones, the CM-300 is the microphone body, and they sell on eBay for $100 a piece.
That's an interesting.
I've used them for all kinds of stuff. I've used them for violins and hand drums and bagpipes, and they just absolutely love acoustic instruments. But the Delta 4 Heavy launch, the EM-1 flight, I recorded that on a pair of those microphones with the cardioid capsules. That audio is pretty darn good. But for this, I took my large diaphragm Audio Technica 4050.
Do you have a SoundCloud account where you upload just the audio in a really high resolution?
No, but I could.
I think that'd be kind of cool. I personally think that would be awesome, but I don't know if the community does. But if you're willing to do it, yeah, just like
This is the Audio Technica 4050, and it's got a pretty high SPL as well, and it's got a 10 dB pad, built into the microphone body itself. So
I used a KSM 44 once, and it lasted one launch.
Yeah. So I had of course I had the two hypercardioids on the camera, and then I set this way up in the air, 20 feet up in the air, but at the same, like right at the front level of those microphones, so I didn't get any phasing from the rocket.
Sure.
Rocket launch. And so the combination of the microphones is what really brought out the low frequency.
At that distance, would you have had phasing? Because the signal's not going to be able to invert from there, right?
Well, I mean, you've got, between the.
So I'm going to pause you for a second. For those who don't know, microphone phasing, you've got a waveform, right? If the sound hits two different microphones at a slightly different time, and you have the opposite points of the waveform hit the two different microphones, they basically cancel each other out, and you get no audio then. So you can listen to one, it will sound great, and you can listen to the other, it will sound great, but you combine them, and they cancel themselves out.
You don't hear much. Well, that's if they're 180 degrees out of phase.
But
if they're 5 degrees out of phase, you'll still hear it that they're out of phase. That means it'll be a phase difference. It won't be a phase cancellation, but it'll be a phase difference, right?
Sure, yeah.
So by making sure that those two sets of microphones were right on the same, plane of each other, I wasn't getting any kind of funny oscillations. But I could hear it between the Nakamichis and the Zoom because they were that far apart, right? They were a foot and a half apart.
Wow, I'm just surprised that there was that much difference in the wavelength. I mean, it makes sense. I'm just surprised because spectrally you're just so broad that I wouldn't expect it to.
Yeah, you could hear it a little bit in the local audio and in the high frequency stuff. You wouldn't hear it in the low frequency.
Neuropilot's asking don't you put a slight delay to correct for distances between mics? Yeah, absolutely. That's one. If you just delay. So as you mentioned, the worst case scenario is 180 degrees out of phase. Trying to do this where you can see it. So if you can do like two things.
Right? Phases are that's what you don't want.
If you're truly 180 degrees, purely 180 degrees out of phase, you can actually invert your phase, and it will lock back up.
Yeah, right.
If you're not, and what Vax mentioned, and you're say, 1 millisecond off or whatever it is, you can actually delay your audio by 1 millisecond. It will actually line back up and resync.
Yeah, I just pulled it into a mixer, and when I sat and I actually listened to it, I like what I heard, so it's really pretty raw. I mean, I think there's a slight compressor on it, but it's pretty raw.
I hate these guys.
Jared's going to get his...
They're being mean to me.
Couldn't help it.
So one other interesting thing for those nerds, we're actually doing acoustic treatment to the studio. We're doing it both above us and in front of us. Actually, technically, it'll be behind us. So the wall that's behind us right now that we're shooting against, that becomes, everything flips 180 degrees. So this becomes the wall that we face. So this is all going to get treated with fiberglass paneling to absorb as much sound as possible. And we have fiberglass paneling that's already started to go in the ceiling because we're trying to deaden the sound in the room. For the sound nerds out there, the room, when it is empty, has a 5-second decay. The room with our equipment in it, in general, just couches and whatnot, has approximately 4-second decay, which is pretty long. So we're trying to get that we're trying to get that under 1 second, or targeting 0.5 seconds. If I'm able to do that, I might, instead of wearing these lapel microphones like that, I'm hoping that I can just get some shotguns, drop them from the ceiling in some enclosures, or in some, shock mounts, and just have those pointed on the set and just simply use those. So when we have a guest on, we won't have to mic them up. They just sit down and they talk. The other nice thing is it gets rid of this stupid ugly thing on our shirts. So that's what I'm hoping for, but getting that, the problem is, as soon as you do, with a shotgun, because it's so directional, as soon as I do this, that becomes a problem.
Yeah, it becomes an issue.
Yep, so I'm not 100% sure how I'm gonna deal with that yet. It's already an issue, Dutta says. Yeah. Well, I've purposely put my microphone on this side so that when I turn towards them, I wouldn't. But then when I'm not turned towards them, I'm pointing at you, and I don't want to talk to you. If only you guys could hear what he's saying. So
Yeah.
my plan for Dutta's microphone. My plan for Dutta's microphone is he can talk in our ears right now, but he can't talk to you. We're going to make it so that there's another button he can press, and he'll actually be able to talk to speakers that are in the studio space, which means
God mode.
Yeah. But then our microphones will pick it up. So it actually, I think that will have, feeling-wise, a slightly better feeling than you just getting his audio natively, because you just kind of have this distant, like, disheveled voice like coming through our microphones, which is basically how we view Dutta.
Disheveled or disembodied?
Yep.
Okay.
Start putting mics in hairlines like they do in theater. My hairline's receding, so I'm not sure how well.
Me
that's
too.
Your hairline's coming back down.
A little bit.
So, all right, audio, done with the audio stuff. Any other cool stuff with small sats that we didn't cover that we should have?
It's just amazing to me that you can, the stuff that we've been putting on satellites that are, the size of a refrigerator or the size of a school bus, can now go in something I can hold in my hand. It's pretty astounding. And really, I talked about a little bit about, the kind of power that we're able to now put on these CubeSats, but man, the way that they're able to do that and the fact that it's as efficient as it is, I'm a software engineer, but I've seen, satellite power systems for a while. This stuff is approaching Arthur C. Clarke level of magic.
Yeah, well, and
worth of hardware.
That's where, like, if you go back even 4 or 5 years on TMRO, I was like, CubeSats are dumb. I don't see any point to these things because they can't do anything. And now, it feels like every episode of the show is about some amazing new CubeSat, small sat thing. Clearly, I was very, very wrong.
No, rule number 5 doesn't exist.
Dutta's saying that, wait, I thought rule number 5 existed.
Nope.
So it's like one of those things where
rule number 5 exists whenever he wants it to be.
I was right at the time.
That's
I
not
was
a thing.
still
That's not a
ultimately
thing.
right because
Totally
timing's
not
important.
a thing.
Yeah.
Not a thing.
Oh, I
Yes.
forgot to ask you, Vax. I want to ask several questions, and the first one I want to ask of every guest before we let you go, and I forgot to do that on the show, and I need to remember to do that starting Orbit 10.
What is my favorite curse word? No. Sorry.
Sure. We're in After Dark. You can
What
do
is
that.
your favorite sound? What sound do you most dislike?
I just read James Lipton's book Inside, which is about inside the actor's studio. So
James Lipton is amazing.
that book is incredible.
Yeah? All right.
Inside by James Lipton.
So
look into
actually,
it.
that is inside the actor studio. They do the questions at the end, whatever they're
The
called.
Pivot questionnaire.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's kind of the idea of what I want to do.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit different. It's space focused. So the question I can remember is Moon or Mars first?
Moon.
Why?
Because it's here. It's 5 days away. It's got absolutely fascinating geology. It's got instant comm with the Earth. We can put a radio telescope on the far side. We can learn how to, deal with power and vacuum and all those kinds of things. Dennis Wingo's book Moonrush pretty much says it all.
Good book. Is Pluto a planet?
Pluto is a dwarf planet.
Safe answer. Safe answer. I figured that's going to be
Technically
another
correct
question
answer.
I'm going to add. Oh, by the way, I saw you slide that in there in the show. So those are the two I have right now. I need to come up with like 5, right? 3 or 5, do you think?
You're not going to keep the favorite orbiter question?
Well, but okay, I mean, I can keep the favorite orbiter question, but it doesn't feel relevant to a show called TMRO.
How many times
Depends
do you
on the
think
answer.
SLS will fly?
Oh!
Is that a good one?
How many times do you think he has to? So, all right, so, but first off,
That's a very good question.
It's also a leading question,
no, because you can say 0.
I guess.
So, yeah, how many times do you think SLS will fly?
I have a WordPress account called Vax's Headroom, and where I can talk about longer things than I can talk about on Twitter. And I have a post up there called "Beer Bet It Never Flies." So
Still, you still think it will never fly?
I think it will be canceled.
Interesting. With the next presidential, like the next president comes in, give him 180
Yeah.
days, and then within the new space policy kind of thing?
Yeah.
All right, so I think, I believe we have, I have a stakes for life bet with Dave Maston.
I can hear the laughter in the background.
Yep, because every time that Ben mentions it, it somehow becomes a bigger thing. Soon it'll be cows for life.
Solid or liquid?
Oh, all right. So can I ask that of every guest, though? Do you think they'll understand what I mean?
I mean, I prefer to eat more often than I drink.
Yeah, solid or liquid?
Oh, liquid.
All right.
Because liquid includes
No, everyone's
nuclear
gonna
thermal.
everyone's gonna say liquid, right? Because if you just say solid or liquid, I don't think that's fair. Because if I had to choose between solid or liquid, I would choose liquid too.
Yeah.
Right? Depends. I mean, I'm just saying, don't be afraid of solid.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Don't be afraid of solids.
Tars is saying that Taco Bell is both.
All right. So I think we have 3 decent questions, right? But the question is,
Wait. To be fair, what is your favorite curse word?
Damn it.
It's a good one.
right? So we have 3 decent questions, right? Like Mars or Moon? Is Pluto a planet? I think that's a fun one, right? And then will SLS ever fly? Oh, well, how many times will SLS fly? I think is the question. Because if you word it
Yeah,
that
that's
way,
much more neutral.
yeah, if you word it that way, the answer could be 0, right?
Yeah.
So that's a good neutral way. So should the questionnaire be 3 or should it be 5?
4.
Or should it be 4? 5? So I'm 2 questions short.
3 shall be the number of counting. The number of counting.
You don't think you'd call the
shall
Pluto
be
question
3.
decent? No. So here's the thing: we're not looking to create discussion. Has everyone here watched Inside the Actors Studio?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't have to spark a discussion.
No,
it can
it
just
just
give you
gets an answer.
It can give you insight into the person, and the answer could be one word, and I can then poke at them and say why. Or I can just go cool and move on, depending upon how it feels in the moment.
Yes.
Right? So I think the Pluto question is interesting simply because it gives you some potential insight into that person and their thinking, potentially. Right?
Yeah.
And Dwarf Planet, I thought, was a really clever engineering safe answer.
It's the technically correct answer.
Whatever.
Yep.
That's what they
Yeah.
call
It
it.
is.
All right, so what is your favorite word? What is your least favorite word? What turns you on? What turns you off? What sound or noise do you love? What sound or noise do you hate? What is your favorite curse word? What profession other than your own would you like to attempt? What profession would you not like to do? And if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
What's your favorite launcher?
Oh, my favorite launcher. Right now, my favorite launcher is Delta IV Heavy.
Delta IV Heavy. Right now. All right, what's your favorite future launcher?
Oh, ITS.
God, I hate that name.
It's
Actually, I don't mind the name. I hate the acronym. It's an unfortunate acronym.
Yeah, I don't mind the name. I mind the acronym. BFR was way funnier.
It still is.
absolutely.
Oh, that's that anonym. When will the first person arrive on Mars? These are good questions. These are fun. These are
Yes.
fun,
Yeah, that's interesting.
right? I like that one. I think that one needs to stay, right?
Yeah.
What about the favorite launcher question? Did we like that one?
Yeah.
All right, favorite launcher. When will all right, so Mars question. When will the first person arrive on Mars?
Before 2030.
Before 2030.
That's
Someone
only
needs to write these down.
It's only 14 years out, guys.
Yeah.
I know, but that's over my 10.
man.
It's over my 10. So 2030 sounds like it's not in my lifetime because it's over 10.
Yeah.
Star Wars or Star Trek.
Oh, actually, yeah. So Space Mike, you're getting spanked because you didn't cover the SpaceX AMA.
Well, sorry.
That's a great answer. I love it. By the way, that is the correct
To be
answer.
honest, I was actually saving all that information for this week's Space Pod, but
There you go.
you know, whatever.
That's an even better answer.
Yeah. No, I think that's an awesome. No, that's the correct answer was deal.
Sorry.
Oh yeah, fist bump right there. Boom. Boom.
It's hard to do it through the, really? What are you doing right now? Stop. He's not Melanie.
Oh yeah. She's not here.
No, she's not. Good of you to notice.
All right, I think we have our questions.
Where'd you leave her, man?
I'll say, sitting in the studio with all of that painted black now, it's weird.
It's really weird.
It's because it sucks up all of the light, and there's nothingness on that side of me now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily bad. It's just weird.
No, yeah, it's just weird.
Bizarre.
So,
So much darkness in this room.
other cool CubeSat stuff, Vax? I think we're winding down.
Yeah, not really. Although one of the things that you saw in the pre-show notes was I was awarded a patent this week.
Oh yeah, we didn't talk.
That's related.
I wasn't
Well-
100% sure how much we could say, so I just kind of skirted that.
Yeah. Well, I can talk about the patent and I can talk about the project. They're both public. So I was awarded a patent this week on a project that I've been working on for 12 years. And the patent application's been in for 2.5, almost 3. And that's for what's called a reaction sphere. It's a spherical motor that can control the attitude of a satellite. Attitude of a satellite is where it's pointing and how fast it's rotating.
Nice.
So I won a Tipping Point Technology Program award from NASA. It was awarded last November, and we started on that in July. And so I got 2 years and some number of $1 million to take that project from a lab bench model to a commercially viable spaceflight qualifiable unit.
Sweet.
Congratulations. That's a big deal.
Yeah, it's
Fantastic.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool, and just being able to work on your own technology is pretty cool. But the reason it's relevant to CubeSats is because it's being sized to work on a CubeSat, to drive a CubeSat in its first iteration, right? So the first unit that we're producing is a 1U CubeSat size. So the device is that big and fits inside of a 1U CubeSat, but will control up to like a 12U CubeSat for pointing.
And
And you can try out those kinds of technologies very cheaply because the CubeSat, the whole thing.
pointing's important for both comms and if you've got optics on there, you want to be able to point it at something and keep it pointed at
Yeah,
that thing.
I mean, pretty much anything except a magnetometer mission is going to be, you're going to have to point it.
Well, congratulations again. That's
Thank
super freaking awesome.
Yeah,
I would go
yeah,
into
good.
more, but I don't know what we can talk about, so we're just going to kind of awesome.
But you can go read the patent if you look for my name on the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, uspto.gov. You can find it.
Last thing is I'm being reminded that I was supposed to talk about the bar in studio. So we ordered a Soma bar a while ago, back when we were at our apartment, and we were doing. If you
Which
remember,
wasn't that long ago.
It was like half a year ago. That's like 20 years in tomorrow time.
Barely half a year.
Whatever. So if you remember, we were doing After Dark kind of in the kitchen, and everyone seemed to like that because we'd have Dutta make some drinks. And it was just kind of, again, it was kind of we're just playing with the show format, see what works. We all generally liked it, but it was complicated to do. So one thing I'm considering, and haven't actually, this is not a certain thing. Anyone who knows me, even when I say it's certain, it's not certain. Everyone's laughing. They're all like, yeah. Is when we get the Soma bar in, which I think is going to be still this year, potentially, it sounds like, maybe, based on the Kickstarter thing. Yeah, I know, Mike's. We've got what we were calling the green room that we're no longer using as a green room because we just moved everyone out here because it's way more fun. So we could turn that into the After Dark set, and maybe actually it might be fun to paint the background black. Might be neat. Anyhow, and then in that room, have the Soma bar, and then make drinks, like, kind of have everyone choose what we're going to drink, make those drinks live on air, and just have After Dark done that way. Or the second thought is make it into the comments section and maybe move the drinking up a little bit earlier into comments. Maybe. Maybe.
Jeez. We're going to be drinking before noon.
Yeah, I don't care.
I'm sorry, you make that sound like a bad thing?
I was about to
What am
say.
I not?
It is a Saturday.
For those who don't
Dutta's
know,
in.
I normally have
Dutta's
my
in.
mug.
Dutta's in.
Dutta's in.
Dutta's in.
I normally have my mug. That's just Scotch whiskey in there. Just Scotch whiskey.
Straight.
Straight Scotch whiskey.
No.
Oops.
No, it's
So, yeah. I don't know. I'm not sure. As you mentioned, it is drinking fairly early. I'm not sure it's appropriate to be drinking on the air, especially after you just had maybe a high-profile guest on. You don't want to be like, woo, right? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Maybe I do. I don't know.
Are you always like that when you drink?
I am. No. Yes.
Not at the start.
Yeah. Yeah, I know the real answer to that.
I'm a woo girl. What do you want?
Yeah. No, sweetie. It's okay.
Dan TC24, you know the proper vessel of consumption of Scotch whiskey is a brown paper bag. All right. I think we're done.
Yeah, we're toast.
Yeah.
No, this is the appropriate tumbler for Scotch whiskey.
Yeah.
There we go.
Windows Defender needs to scan my something.
Yeah, it does.
I have put together a little demo of a possible TMRO Let's Play, and I'm gonna upload that as just to like private or something like that in like the next day or two, and take a look at that and let me know if you guys if it might work or if tweaked a different way it might work somehow or something like that.
Yeah, make
But
it unlisted
I don't know,
and drop it
just
in the.
for fun.
Yeah, no, do unlisted instead of private and then drop it in Slack.
Okay,
Cool.
will do.
What are you playing? Kerbal?
A Kerbal Space Program, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the plan has always been to kind of expand tomorrow beyond space. So, you know, tomorrow space, tomorrow energy, tomorrow transit, all that other fun jazz. And one that came up was Tomorrow Let's Play. And I thought that was kind of a fun title. So, yeah, interesting. All right, on that note, I'm hungry. I think that was a good show. And why?
Oh, one
why
last
did-
question. How do you feel that we did on timing? Were we over, under with the news stories?
So this week I decided to, instead of looking at specific times, I decided to do it based on feeling of like, were we out of content? How much did the content dictate kind of thing? And I thought that we did a really good job feeling wise. I haven't actually gone back and checked the time, but from emotionally like, this thing had this much content, did we try to stretch it for too long? Did we add too much detail? Did we add not enough detail? I thought we did a pretty good job on the amount of detail necessary for each story. So let me go back and get how much time each one took to get an exact number, and then we'll continue to refine it. Ultimately, though, I thought that the feeling of the news was very good. The flow of the news wasn't quite right, and again, I'm still trying to figure out how to bring community back into the news, but I don't. This format and community kind of butt heads, so just need to figure it out. But if we can keep this feeling of the news and get the flow right, which the flow is ultimately on Dutta and myself, get that right, I think we can find a way to kind of wrap community back in and make that work. I really liked the bug changing. I know someone said just do's news for the bug, but I thought there was something really neat about having that change in real time. What did you think? Yeah, Dutta liked it. What did you guys think? You guys like? I'll now have to wait forever for the answer, but
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look back at it because I didn't even notice the first time.
yeah. Well, you wouldn't have been able to because it's so tiny on these screens. Yeah, it's impossible for you to see that. But yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. Oh.
Well, good show. I feel like we did
Yeah.
a good job today too. So
Yeah, I
was
thought
a
it was
lot
good.
of
I
fun.
thought it was good. I think we're making really good headway on the news segment. I feel like the interview segments work better. Vax, how did that feel for you, interview timing-wise? Did you feel the time was about right? As a guest, how was the experience for you?
Oh, it's great. Yeah, that was fine.
Okay. Was this one of the better experiences you've had with us, other than the complexity of getting you into the show, which was weird? Was it one of the worst, or was it on par?
No, pretty much as expected. Yeah, well, one of the things that you and I did is, we coordinated ahead of time as to what content, basically we were going to cover. We kind of gave you an outline because it was with Northrop Grumman, so that kind of had to be vetted ahead of time.
Yep.
And that took a while, but wasn't all that bad. And they're actually, I'll say they're quite excited about being able to use this kind of media outlet. So they were all in.
Cool.
My upper management was all in to do this. It was very cool.
Actually, dirty little secret is that is not uncommon for our guests. What you provided
yeah,
is
I figured
very
that's probably
common for the people we bring on. It was unsurprising, and we just drop it in the rundown and we kind of go. See, the thing with tomorrow is we're not like, while we have a news segment, we're not like traditional news where we need to grab you with the headlines and grab more viewers. We're about getting people engaged and excited about the future of human spaceflight. So when we bring our guests on, we're not trying to argue with them. or debate with them. We're trying to get really cool information on what they're doing and talk about cool things in space. And so I think that generally works for everyone's advantage. So we go through the things that they're okay talking about.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it gets uncomfortable. If you're like, I'm sorry, I can't talk about that. Then
Yeah, you don't want to have to do that in a news segment, right? I mean,
yeah,
it's-
yeah, you really don't. It's super awkward, right? And then
Yeah.
as a host, you're like, I need to pivot, and you got to find a way out, right? And it gets awkward. So I
So
actually,
if your guest, I would say, I would suggest to your guests, if they don't provide you an outline, that you should recommend that they provide you an outline.
yeah, and a good chunk of them do. And then
sure.
there's that. I don't know if you read through the FAQ, but the FAQ also kind of says, hey, let us know in advance what you do and don't want to talk about.
Yeah.
One thing I should do also is actually do the reverse and provide an outline back to you, like in advance. Say, hey, here are some of the things we were thinking of talking about. I think that would have been a nice thing for us to do that we didn't do. Maybe I should
Yeah.
start making that happen. All right, thank you, Vax. It was awesome. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone.
Bye,
We'll see you
everybody.
next week. Vector Space is on next week. Bye.
Thank you.